Is anybody like really hustling, getting money in there? Because I hear stories like this, but I don't think it's not everywhere, right?
Yes, brother.
Okay.
People are doing great, and they're fine.
And you were doing well for yourself at a certain point, or are you staying out of all that?
I was doing well for myself towards the end. You know what I'm saying? When things changed in prison at a certain point, and the focus became some not violence, right? Yeah, I was able to not rely on my family to send me packages and do all that kind of stuff, and that's a great feeling. You know?
Definitely. Okay, so that attempted murder charge that you caught, though, like, did that add a lot of time to your what?
No, the lucky thing is I caught a few attempted murders, and because you have life, they consider it like beating a dead horse. And on the rare chance that they actually ad book you with a attempted murder, if you already got life, nobody really gives a anyways, you know what I'm saying? So a court is really just seen as like a trip. You get to go to the county jail. You get to see what homies is over there. Do that kind of shit. For real. It's not really like a big deal, you know what I'm saying? But what's crazy for me personally, right before I got out, I had just got out of the SHU. So I had just got accepted. So the juvenile laws changed.
Yeah. Right.
And I was with this, speaking of the race thing, is I was in Corcoran SHU, and there wasn't a lot of active cells in the SHU. The SHUs were in transition. They were kind of, whereas before it would have been just a bunch of GP cells, right? It was kind of like the tide was turning a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You were starting to see it around 2009. And so there was 2009, 2010 maybe, you know what I'm saying? So like, there was a lot of SNYs, they wasn't even called SNYs at the time, I don't think. But they might have been, but I'm not 100% sure. But there was a lot of PCs, right? In that, and there was only like 3-4 cells that was active. My neighbor was a Keyway from Long Beach, right? From Insane. And we chop game all the time. And it was cool to have him as a neighbor because at least I had an active next door neighbor, no matter where the rotation went on the cages, because you might not even see another active cell depending on how the rotation in Corcoran SHU cages was, right? But because he was my cellie, my neighbor, I was able to chop it up with him all the time. So he told me, turn on Good Morning America. And the juvenile laws had changed, right? And so I didn't know how to file no habeas corpus or anything like that, but I was pretty good at the 602s and shit like that. And actually, I did have a basic understanding of habeas corpus processing at the time, you know what I'm saying? And I was able to utilize a little bit in order to understand the language and turn that motherfucker in. And I fought that bitch for 10 years, you know what I'm saying? And luckily, by the time that part of it got accepted, I had just blasted this other dude.
Yeah.
Right. So I was in a SHU, and my attorney, Mr. Lipsmeyer, rest in peace, was like, "What the are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You just got but I knew all they was going to do at the time for juveniles was give you access at a parole hearing after 25 years, right? So for me personally, I knew that wasn't going to do anything. Parole hearing, like I was telling you, they wasn't going to let me go from a parole hearing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of violence on my history, right? So I knew that's all they give a f about. And I wasn't PCing up. I wasn't doing none of that shit. So then the laws for the felony murder rule changed, right? While I was in the SHU, you know what I'm saying? So on the next, on the first SHU, on the second SHU, the juvenile laws changed. On the last SHU, the felony murder rule changed. So I was able to apply the new existing law that just became retroactive and I helped it become retroactive. Into my juvenile shit to where I don't need the parole hearing no more because I'm already access to court. I'm already in the court, have access to the court. I'm able to apply any existing law into my shit. You know what I'm saying? So that becomes part of the sentencing. So they was like, yeah, you're gonna get out basically. So, but then when I went to Sac County for the sentencing, COVID happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we was in our county jail for one day. You know what I mean? And got sent right back to New Folsom because they had shut down all the state facilities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we went right back, but my attorney had cancer, so he was able to ask the judge if he could do the hearing via email.
Right.
That should save my life.
Before
bro.
they even were doing like Zoom trials and shit like that?
It might have been Zoom. I don't even know if
okay.
it was Zoom, but I just know that it was emails. You know what I'm saying? And the only stipulation was me and Lil Man had to sign a thing saying that we wouldn't be present during the hearings because we couldn't. I would figure on a Zoom call we could be there. So that makes me think that knowing what I know now about Zoom, they could have just FaceTime a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And boom. But they ultimately we fit it perfect. Right?
Okay, I can imagine after you've done 20 years in prison, and then something happens where you feel like you might need to stab somebody. There's got to be serious alarm bells going off in your head, like do not do this because you're about to get out.
Right. So you know, I'm not the hardest dude, right? But I just me and my brother had this Lil Man had this conversation like all right, well, if something happens, we're still gonna do it. You know, we're still gonna participate, right? Because this is what we like. We're not gonna. The homies have showed me how to do all this stuff that is allowing me to get out at all. If I could barely read when I went in there.
So you're talking more like a riot situation where you're just expected to get down along with everybody else?
Whatever it is.
Okay.
Right, whatever. Maybe.
It's not just like a one-on-one.
That'd be the most probably common situation that might actually, right, pull us into
where
something.
you're basically like, you are just the worst representative of your race if you don't get down in this environment.
Right. So, but we had this conversation and luckily it didn't happen, and we wouldn't necessarily want to do it, right? But it'd be like, I'm not just going to abandon you now because, right?
But were you also thinking, I'm probably not going to get charges because there's a ton of crazy shit happening. What are the odds that I'm one of the people that gets caught?
Oh, you get caught.
It's just like that nowadays?
Yeah, you getting caught in that motherfucker. Yeah,
because they're just crazy good with the cameras and everything nowadays that like, it's just, you're not getting away with shit.
I mean, I guess like you can't pinpoint the thing, but if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're gonna have, you're just covered in blood,
right?
Like you always, there's just blood on you.
Damn. So it wasn't a hard decision. This was just like, this is.
No, it's a hard decision, brother. This is, I'm like a human being. Are human beings. I'm not a psychopath. I'm not a sociopath. Well, I don't want to stab, right? So I'm like. So it's just it's an acceptance. It's like kids going to war, right? Like, damn, you don't even know these, you know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily, I don't have a problem with Adam, you know what I'm saying? But bro, like, damn, like, you know the rules, I know the rules, you know what I'm saying? If you get out of line, then certain things have to happen. Otherwise, people who are friends with Adam might think that it's okay to treat people who are friends with Fats a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So am I gonna be the reason Adam's friends treats my brothers different? You know what I'm saying? You ain't never gonna see me be that reason. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Right? And hopefully, right? I always say that kind of stuff, bro, just so people know, like, you don't gotta be super thugged out and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? But it's like you see the square dudes that just known their neighbor hella long, right? And your neighbor's getting beat up by a guy who hit his car on the side of the road in his driveway. What's he gonna do? They getting down. I'm just gonna let my neighbor get in with this dude? Yeah. No, we about to jump that dude. Yeah. That's the whole mentality of prison.
For sure.
For me. You know what I mean?
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you become a member for only $5 a month. It really helps support us, and it also gives you early access to all of our content. Let's go.